Hit it. Oh, how you feel, brother?
Feeling good.
You feel good?
Feeling good. It's groovy.
Ain't so much bone, brother. How you feel, man?
I feel all right.
I call your name. I don't want no people to know you're in here. How you feel, fella? Hey, Jam! Sure getting down. But gotta take you higher. Ow! All right. You wanna do it again? You wanna do it again, huh?
Yeah, let's go on with that.
We gotta take you higher.
Power Lunch with Sharita Day. If we could get more people to collaborate with our nonprofits, we could be bringing a lot more programs back to our schools, because there's grants where there's been a music program or an arts program or fine language program cut. There's grants where individuals... So that's why I never shut up about this. C360. That stands for Collaborative 360, and that's where we've launched a program where we are identifying the grant funders and writing the grants for our affiliates.
Hello?
Hit it. Oh, how you feel, brother?
Feeling good.
You feel good?
Feeling good. It's groovy.
Ain't so much bone, brother. How you feel, man?
I feel all right.
I call your name. I don't want no people to know you're in here. How you feel, fella? Hey, Jam! Sure getting down. We gotta take you higher.
Hi, this is Sharita J, and I'm hoping that you can hear me okay, because, yes, the show is called Drive Time, and I am actually stuck in Drive Time here in Los Angeles, California. Just a few minutes from the studio, but thank God for technology, because I'm on my cell, which I am on my earpiece, so you guys don't say that I'm holding my phone up to my ear, but I have my guest in the car, and we are trying to get there to you so that you can see not only what's going on in the studio and hear all of the wonderful things I'll be talking about, but then you will meet my wonderful guest, Mr. Bobby Glantine Smith. Bobby, say hello to him.
Hello, hello.
So we're right around the corner from the station. Stay tuned to me, because I am coming right with you. Let me just talk a little bit about what we're doing this month. Father's Day is coming up in a couple of Sundays, and this month we are dedicating to Father's Day month. And what is that? What does that mean? That means that I'm bringing to you some individuals that are making just a heck of a difference in the world. I'm talking about some absolutely phenomenal fathers. They are actually working in community. They're empowering young people. They are helping to fight gangs and doing a lot of gang intervention programs and so much more. So next week, besides my wonderful guest this week, Mr. Bobby Glantine Smith, I have next week Coach Ken Carter. You saw the movie. You saw that Samuel L. Jackson played this wonderful man making a difference in Oakland, California. So tune in next week also. Give me a moment. I'm pulling up at the station. We're going to go to a station break, and hopefully my engineer doesn't kill me, so that I can get into the studio and bring you my very special guest. Again, this is Sharita J with Drive Time here in Los Angeles, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'll get with you in a moment. So hang in there, you guys. I'll see you in a moment.
Are you a diabetic? Need some energy? Need to quench your thirst? Try Pitbull Sugar-Free Energy Drink, the only energy drink named suitable for diabetics by the American Diabetic Association. And it's now available with no calories, no carbs, no sugar, and no fat, and a smooth, natural blend of energy, vitamins, and minerals. Need to quench your thirst? Try Pitbull Sugar-Free Energy Drink, the only energy drink named suitable for diabetics by the American Diabetic Association. And it's now now available with no calories, no carbs, no sugar, and no fat, and a smooth, natural blend of energy with vitamins and minerals. Pitbull Sugar-Free Energy Drink is the healthiest, best-tasting energy drink around. For more information and online ordering with free shipping, please visit hiphopbev.com. Remember, Pitbull Sugar-Free Energy Drink, suitable for diabetics, great for everyone.
Hit it. Oh, how you feel, brother?
Feeling good.
You feel good?
Feeling good. It's grooving.
Ain't so much bone, brother. How you feel, man?
I feel all right.
I call your name. I don't want no people to know you're in here. How you feel, fella? Hey, Jam! Sure getting down. Gotta take you higher. Ow! All right. You wanna do it again? You wanna do it again, huh?
Yeah, let's go on back.
Gotta take you higher.
Hi, as you can see, I made it in the studio. Like I said, thank God for technology and that this is Drive Time with Sharita J, because I truly brought that to you. Trav, I couldn't believe it. We were at a meeting and we were out in Torrance, California. Now, straight shot down Hawthorne. I'm here to tell you, I think we got caught in every single light there was. Bobby, what do you think?
Without a doubt.
So you guys, my special guest today is Mr. Bobby Glanton Smith. Many of you have seen him with Corey Holcomb on the Corey Holcomb Show, and Bobby is no stranger to radio. But he's also no stranger to making a difference. I actually met Bobby, probably 30 years ago, and he was working with Mohammed Nasruddin, and they were truly making a difference in getting especially African-American small businesses up and going. Bobby, talk about that for a moment, and then we're going to go into some of the other things. But how did you and Mohammed even start working together?
Well, I was living in San Diego, California, and I had relatives here in Los Angeles that told me about an organization called Recycling Black Dollars. So I visited LA and I went to one of the meetings, and it reminded me of a combination of a church revival and something out of the movie Cotton Come to Harlem. You know, I mean, it was just a lot of energy in the room, and I saw people just excited about doing business. And I came to other meetings, and eventually I started a chapter in San Diego. And it was the beginning of a long and wonderful relationship with Muhammad, and unfortunately, I was there the day that he passed away.
Wow.
And I saw what that did to him, taking on the responsibility of sowing into black businesses in such a way that it created a lot of hope for people in this community of Los Angeles, and
yes.
It created an opportunity for us to really check out the value of taking care of our own business needs. You know, he had this saying, every chance you can, put that dollar in another black man's
Yes,
hand.
he did. Yes, he did.
And it was exciting, you know, to be in LA during that time.
Yeah. But you know what, Bobby? Again, you just keep showing up, because here all this time I didn't realize that you started a chapter in San Diego. And the way since I've known you, when you see that a business is working, you continuously try and make sure that someone else is exposed to that. From you working with Jim Brown with the American program. I mean, you're always connecting individuals, and you're always, if it's something that's working to help others, you are definitely dedicated in making sure that that happens. So now that leads to the book. The book.
Yeah, this is right.
Yes. And I'm so proud of you. Real Men Don't Play. Why did you write the book?
I had to write it because really what happened about 20 years ago, there was a movie that came out called The Players Club. And that phrase became a term of endearment on the Steve Harvey show. What's up, player? Player this, player that, player this, player that. And it finally just began to annoy me that we were contributing to our own demise.
Yes.
Because I knew too many hard-working men growing up in the Deep South in the 50s and 60s that had raised the bar, and then we inadvertently begin to lower it by associating ourselves with being, full of frivolity.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, wait a minute, time out on that. And then the thing took off to the point where brothers really started wanting to be known as a player.
As the player,
and
yeah.
I'm like,
Right.
man, you messing with something, man, without any concept of where this gonna take us as a people.
Right.
And then it just snowballed to the point where women were emerging as forces in the work world, and our families were falling apart. And I had a story I wanted to tell that was driven by relationships that I've had with extraordinary men from different walks of life.
Right.
And the thing that brought them together in the form of this book is their commonality is they say what they mean and they mean what they say.
Yes.
And they about that 24/7.
Yes, even whether some people don't agree with it or not.
Doesn't matter.
The thing is to be a leader, you're going to have individuals that don't agree with you,
Right.
and you'll have some that do. Let's talk about some of the individuals that are in the book, and how did you choose them?
Well, the first person that I had to put in the book was my cousin, the late George D. Osborne. He lost his life in defense of this place October 4th, 1968. I was 13
Wow.
years old.
Wow.
And I remember taking him to the airport, me and my uncle. And I started crying. And my uncle said, man, what's wrong? I said, I don't know, man. I just got a bad feeling, man. And he was in Vietnam for 11 months. And this was a cat who became a man at 8 years old out of necessity.
What? Explain that.
Okay, his father died when he was an infant, and his mother had problems with alcohol. And he literally had to raise himself.
Wow.
And he never complained about anything.
Wow.
Anything. And he was my first cousin. His brother was 6'3", good looking. I watched this brother shine shoes, cut hair, deliver bootleg whiskey, had a paper route. I mean, he had them Jamaican tendencies. This brother was working
he had
all
19
the time.
jobs.
I'm telling you, boy. And I loved that brother. I
Yes.
loved that brother
Yes.
dearly. And I said, if I ever get a chance, his name gonna ring out.
Yeah.
And so he was the first person that I thought of when I decided to write the book. And I had spoken to a very successful author in New York by the name of David Fisher, who I met many years ago through a failed book project involving Cuba Gooding Sr. And he told me, he said, anytime you decide to do your thing, I want you to give me a call. So I talked to him and I talked to Antoine Fisher before I jumped into this. And the first thing David Fisher told me about the style of the book, he said, that's going to be a grind right there because you're going to do a compilation of stories. And he said, that's going to be hard to sell. I said, but that's the only way I can tell this.
Yes. Yes.
Real men, not real man.
Not
real
real
men.
man. Yes.
And he said, well, if that's how you want to do it and you're prepared to go that alternate route, then this is what you also need to take into consideration. Make sure that your content reflects the title of the book. He said, because you got a compelling title. He said, your climb is going to be you're an unpublished author. And so with that being said, I started looking at the cats that I could put in the book that
Yes.
were reflective of what it was I was trying to accomplish with the book. So that was George D. Osborne, number one. And having worked with Jim Brown for the last 30 years, there was no way that he wasn't going to be in the book.
Yes.
Because long before I met him, he had defined manhood for me in 2 generations. And then the more time that I spent around him and saw how consistent he was with who he was,
Right.
no matter what people thought of him.
Right.
And a lot of people said, why you put him on the cover? I said, because he belongs on the cover. He's the elder statesman in the compilation of men that I brought together to write about. And the body of work that this brother has produced in his lifetime, people need to know about Jim Brown,
Well,
the humanitarian.
Just what I've learned about, I've always known him since I was a little girl, but you introduced me to Jim and the American program. I had heard of it, but now we've had countless meetings. We've sat and done planning there at his home, but I now see how significant he has been in our in our community and with the African American community and the plight and making sure that things happen for our communities. And you and I even learned a lot more when we took Bootsy Collins up there.
That was
a night that we
special
can.
night. I'll never forget that.
I know. And Bootsy was thrilled to meet him, but Jim started bringing out all these articles and just all the history that I didn't know about. And so I'm grateful to not only know you, but know the individuals that you've introduced me to and get to know more about why Jim Brown is in the book, instead of just that he was an absolutely phenomenal athlete. He broke ground with acting.
First action figure. Yeah.
Yes, yes. But again, there's so much more that people don't know.
Like he was the first manager for Earth, Wind and Fire.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. He brought the Temptations to the West Coast for their first live concert tour.
Oh my goodness!
Maverick
and
Flats.
all this is in the book.
Yeah,
talking about these individuals. Let's talk. Let's plug the book one more time before I ask you more. Where can they see the book right now and find out more about the book? Amazon,
and they'll see 5 stars next to it.
Okay, so Amazon.com, you guys, go and get it today. Real Men Don't Play.
Yeah.
And you're going to hear some absolutely just amazing stories about men that you've seen, that you've heard about, but there's an inside story that this book talks about. And so make sure that you go and get this book. You know, Bobby, there's a few other things. What is your definition of a man?
A man, in my definition, is a work in progress, but there's some foundation there that's compelling. A man he gonna tell you the truth. He gonna tell you the truth even if it hurts. A man's word is his bond, and that's the only thing that you can't lose is your reputation. Once you lose your reputation, you're through.
Yes.
A man is resilient. A man is forthright. He works hard.
Yes.
At something. I don't care what it is. Whatever it is he do, he 100 with it.
Yes, yes.
A man has compassion for other people. And I think that's the one thing that gets lost, I think, in people's assessment of men. They think that they just so hard and detached that they can't be compassionate. Now, all this crying and stuff, that's new. And sometimes we all do some of that. But it's done got out of hand now. You know, it's like every time you turn around, I can't stand it.
Yeah,
but men surprise you in terms of their depth and the things that really matter to them the most.
Yes, yes.
Are family and friends and their reputation. So to me, a man is a compilation of things, but at the center of it is his identity and his integrity.
Yes.
And his walk. You know, it's consistent. You know, he ain't over here one day, all that fashion thing, you don't get caught up in all of that. You know, you'll know him by what he say and what he do.
Okay.
That's what a man, but you know, I did want to mention something that inspired me to write about one brother that's in the book. His name is Dana Davis. He passed away 3 days after I met him because of you introducing me to Ron Brimley and Bootsy Collins. And this brother was an amazing cat. He was the vice president of the Memphis Grizzlies. And when I say vice president, I mean vice president of operations. This brother didn't have just a title, he had power. And because Ron Brimley had spent a little time with me, who is the manager for Bootsy Collins, he called me one day and he said, man, I know this cat, man, that y'all hand in glove. And he said, he kept telling me that for about 2 months. And so I was in Memphis, and I met Dana, and I saw what he was talking about. And then he came out here right before the season started 2 years ago. And he and I, because he wanted to meet Jim Brown, and I wanted to meet Jerry West, because he had worked with Jerry for 5 years when Jerry was the general manager of the Memphis Grizzlies. And so we met at Dan Tanner's here in L.A., and we spent 3 of the most incredible, it was like the night we was up to Jim's. Bootsy took his glasses off.
You never see Bootsy without his glasses. Even his wife said that. She said,
he took
you
his
never take your
glasses
glasses off. Yeah, it was amazing.
It was man to man because Jim admired his work, and Bootsy was like, man, I'm getting chills sitting here with number 32. But it wasn't about football. It never is when you go and sit with a man's man. And so he introduced me to Dana. We went to dinner, and we planned to do all kind of wonderful things together. He went back to, we went up to Jim's the next day and planned on how we was going to integrate Memphis into the American family, and excited. And then he went back. I dropped him off at the hotel. He flew back to Memphis. They opened practice that Monday. Took the team photo and everything. Tuesday, he didn't show up for practice. Wednesday, I got a call from Brim. I was on my way to see my auntie in Des Moines, and I was standing in line at the airport. He said, Dana gone, man. I said, gone where? He said, he's dead. I'm like,
Wow.
Kimmy had a massive heart attack. And so from one Saturday to the next Saturday, it was night and day. I was in Memphis at a memorial service. His brother and Jerry West stood up there and cried like a baby and said, man,
Yes.
I just lost my best
Yes.
friend, man.
Well-
But here's what happened, though. The city of Memphis embraced me.
Yeah.
I can go to Memphis anytime I want to and do like I want to do because
Well,
of Dana Davis.
your mission is only beginning, Bobby.
That's for sure.
And you and I have talked about this before, and just since Muhammad passing and you putting so much energy into that organization, everything that I honestly believe that everything that we go through in life is just stepping stones getting us to greater heights of where God wants to take us. And so I'm proud of you. I'm proud of not only this book, but the book before.
Yeah, let's go to work.
Let's go to work.
Yeah.
And another reason why we're doing this series this month is I see the importance of our young people hearing from the men in our community. And I, like myself, and I like so many other women, we've been working in community a very long time. But it's important for our young people to hear from the men in the communities that are in the trenches, no matter even what their titles are, whether they are celebrity, athletes, whatever. It's important for them to hear that. So we're starting a tour, and I've already been talking to you about it, and Coach and some of my other guests that will be on this month. So stay tuned for that, because we're going to be taking you guys, whether you're with us at the schools or all the other avenues that we will have. And so you guys stay tuned for us taking our men on tour. Now, I've had some women to say, well, Sharita, it sounds like you're going to put us back another 30 years. No, it's not that. But the thing is that so often we have neglected to highlight and uplift the men that are making a difference.
Suffered for it, too. Because,
yes, we definitely have suffered for it.
You know, I had this conversation yesterday, and I'm glad that we're able to speak publicly about this right now. Most brothers I know have no problem with a woman making more money, having more degrees than a thermometer. So what? That's not going to define me. Exactly. Until a woman perceives that as something that she can leverage, and then it turns into something else. And it has turned into something else, a disaster for our culture. And it's not just the black culture, it's got to the point now where it's just
across
crazy.
the board. It's across the board.
Crazy.
And one of the things that is so important that we must remember is that when it comes to men or even women, the title doesn't make the person. The assets that they have or the finance doesn't make the person. It's who they are. And that's what we have to remember. And so that's another thing that I love about the book is that you're mentioning men across the board. They don't have to be celebrity. They are someone that have demonstrated consistently what it takes and what it's like to be a man and a good man. And so, again, I'm so proud of that. Now, tell me this. Why should women read Real Men Don't Play?
Well, for women that are already confident and self-assured, it's affirming. For the women that have made up their mind it ain't no good men and it's no prospects of good men coming out of the pipeline, that's a refutation. Because I remember when I first designed, I didn't design it, but the people that worked with me, Manic Productions,
But you
laid it out.
Yes.
I said, let me just test, the cover on folk, right? And women would look at it with suspicion, like, what real man? Ain't no real man. And then they would see Jim on the cover, and first thing that they would think is about, him beating up women and all that
I can't even believe that statement was made, though.
Oh, Lord.
I just
half
cannot
the
believe
people And I came close not to going with the cover because of that. Then I said, no, no way. That's taken away from what it is I'm trying to promote. So he's on the cover because I know the man, not the myth, okay?
And
Now,
not the media
right.
message.
And so a lot of the women that I think should read this book are the women that have been beaten down, so to speak, and broken hearted.
naysayers and
they just haven't met any men. They've
Yes.
met males,
Yes.
but they haven't met any men.
Well, you know, in saying that, and I've said this to my sisters, like when we're out, we could be at dinner or whatever, so often we say what we want in a man. And I've seen this in as something as simple as changing a diaper. Okay? You have a woman that says she wants a man and she wants him to be involved. And now you've got this father that's getting ready to change the diaper. And because the diaper isn't the way she would do, well, wait, let me just show you how to do it. And I'm like, the baby doesn't care that the diaper's leaning over or halfway off. Is the end result happening? Is the baby being changed? Is the father putting his hand and being involved with the child? Is all of that happening? Well, yes, that's happening. Then stop trying to tell him how to do it. And this is where so often, and I've got to check myself because we've been running our own businesses. We've been being single moms and all of that. But sometimes, and I'll probably get flack for this, we need to shut up.
Oh, Lord, please,
We
put
need
that
to-
on. What do y'all call it in this business, man?
Well,
Yeah.
because just recently I was watching where it was a celebrity and he was in a bar with his girlfriend. And there was a guy saying something and she jumped up and got in front and started talking to the guy, which now makes him have to defend her.
Yeah.
And he stabbed the guy. It's in the news right now. I forget the actor's name, but so now he's on trial. And I'm probably being, someone, but the thing is that, and I wasn't there,
Right,
but I've
right.
seen so many instances where if
Right.
we just stop, if we just let him handle things, but again, we've been so used to doing things ourselves and saying, jumping out and having to defend ourselves, that we have not also learned to let our man be the man when we're with him.
That is so important that we're having this discussion because we got to deal with it from both sides of the issue. I've seen brothers just do the wrong thing because they could, not knowing the consequences. Like Frankie Beverly says, what goes up must come down, and things you do come back around. I've made my own mistakes.
And we all have.
And I know the hurt that some people have experienced because I wasn't ready to be the man I'm in the process of becoming now. And
Yes.
again, it's a work in progress. But what's so scary as it relates to the question of why should women read this book, they should read it so that they have the motivation to give it to their children.
Yes.
Once they have been, exposed to these kind of brothers,
Yes.
okay, from all different walks of life.
And see, they need to see also
That's
the
right.
backside.
Yeah.
Well, see, and the thing is, Bobby, again, that's why I want to take you guys on tour. Because so often, the reason why, what I've experienced in listening to the men, that they didn't turn to the man that they are now sooner was the lack of male presence in their home as they grew up. And so, not to say that all of them miss that, but so often in our communities, we've been raised by single moms.
Right.
I was a single mom raising my son. So I purposely worked at the YMCA and wanted to be around positive male role models, almost interviewed their coaches because that's who my son was going to be influenced by for those hours that they're with him. But oftentimes that doesn't happen. And still, because I moved from Kansas City to Los Angeles away from my male support system, which I didn't think about as a young mom, now I'm moving them into into communities where they don't have that support. And because we can do that, we don't think about the end result of what impact that could have on our children. And so I had to look for men for my boys to be around instead of remaining in Kansas City where they were around their uncles, my father, their grandfather, and all of that. And so we're missing a lot of that. And this is why the sooner that we can get your voices on a regular basis to the young men and women in our communities, the sooner that our young men will grow up to realize the good parts of them sooner, and our young women will start learning how to make better choices also.
They'll have more choices because right now,
Yes.
that has diminished the possibility. The possibility of getting a mate has fallen so far off that it's really discouraging when I look at the pressure that puts on a community. Because if there's just one or two good brothers out there, then they get pulled in all these different directions because the pool is so big, you know, of opportunity, but not really, because the downfall of too many men is the upkeep of too many women.
Yeah.
You see, and that's just the reality of it. Now, the other reason
Meaning that when they're juggling relationships,
somebody's
going to go without, and some mess is going to happen.
Somebody's going to get hurt. Yeah, somebody's going to get hurt. You get ready for that.
Yes.
And so, but another reason why women should read this book is that it's honest. That nobody's perfect, but there are brothers out here that you would be proud to know.
Yes.
And you would want them to know that they are duplicatable. You know, because sometimes we put people on these pedestals and they don't deserve to be there, number one. And number two, they're not duplicatable.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the things that a person can learn about these brothers in this book are everyday lessons of what men have done. Not speculating about doing, but have actually done. Brother from Cincinnati, Kevin McDowell. Who'd ever thought a cat who used to go over to King Records when James Brown was recording over there and look in the windows and think someday that he would become the most powerful brother in the sports and entertainment industry this side of Al Heyman. Kevin McDowell.
And where is he? Because a lot of people don't realize just by the name the significance of where he works now and what he's doing.
AEG.
AEG.
Yeah, the largest sports and entertainment company in the world.
Yes.
And the back of this brother card is in Chinese. And I can go in his office and everybody be like, man, he back up here again. See, that's another thing about real men. You don't choose their friends for them. You see, because we're from two social stratas, and that's supposed to be a problem, but it's not for a real man, because you don't get to choose his friends.
Okay. Well, Bobby, it says here on the other, I'm just kind of jumping down. It says, on the other hand, real men have been diminished and painted with a broad brush of suspicion and cynicism, in a large part because of this growing fascination with playing in the urban landscape. You know, there's a play that I saw last year, and they were talking about, it was taking them from slave time to current day. And it showed how a big buff slave was brought into the plantation. And one evening, they walk him into to sleep with one slave woman. And then the next, that same night, they walk him out of there and they walk him into the next door. And he walks in there and he's supposed to be sleeping with that woman too. And this is what was happening on plantations. And then all of a sudden you would see smoke on the stage. And now when he's walking out, it's an actual apartment nowadays, and he's coming out of that apartment and he's kind of tipping down the hallway and he's headed to another apartment. And it's talking about how that mentality and that grooming started happening with our families. And even in my day, it was nothing to be, as I grew up, for a man to have a family, and a few blocks over he has another family going on. So we have to look at that. A lot of what has been happening in our community comes from way back. But that doesn't have to be a continuation of what's happening in our communities and within the African American communities at this time.
Well, so, it's so interesting that you put that in that context, because in the first scenario, that was strictly for breeding purposes.
It was business.
Okay.
Yeah,
the
for them.
second scenario it's a little different. It's not about breeding. It's about you can do it, and you do it.
And that's what so many families grew up with.
Right.
I remember when I was getting ready to leave my boy's dad, and it was a situation that I said I was not going to deal with. And I was told by older women, that's just what men do. Is that acceptable? And so it was not acceptable for me. And so sometimes we have to make some choices. And when you come up with generation after generation where it is acceptable, and so then the word player and all of that becomes acceptable. And I even remember a time as a young girl where it was, if a guy had 2-3 women, that was cool. And if he didn't, then what's wrong with him?
Right.
And so when do we start breaking that cycle, Bobby? And as you're talking about real men don't play, and it's not that I'm not saying that people should not be single, but where does it, you have to start developing a trust, and you have to start developing that oftentimes when that kind of thing happens, there's some insecurity that happens, or what I have found, at least, that sometimes people are trying to prove something within themselves instead of really finding the real man in themselves. They measure it by maybe having multiple women. Now, am I wrong with that kind of understanding?
No, it's a piece of it. It's a part of it, because there was a point in my life where I thought the conquest defined me.
The conquest of women.
Yeah, yeah. And then I found out it's more to it than that, because at some point either you care about somebody or you should. Mm-hmm. And when you go from that threshold of just the physical attraction to somebody to whether or not you care about them, you're going to know the difference. And usually at some point somebody cares more than the other person does, and it becomes very dangerous.
Okay, yeah.
Very dangerous.
I guess so.
Emotionally
Yeah.
and physically, because you're playing with somebody's emotions.
But if you're just always open and honest, and that's not always easy to do.
No, but it's going to be more sustainable.
Yes.
Because if you keep playing with people's emotions,
Yes.
that's when you get your clothes set on fire and your windows knocked.
Sound like you kind of know what you're talking about. Well, again, my special guest today is Mr. Bobby Glanton Smith, and he has written the book Real Men Don't Play. Bobby and I go back over 20 years. Again, I'm highlighting men that not only have books, but they are making major strides in communities. Bobby, I've watched him not only help grow small businesses and entrepreneurs, I've watched him work with young people that just have lack of direction in their life, and along with the program that he works with Jim Brown, the American program, we've gone to schools and seen the amazing things that are happening with the students. Their lives are being just changed. And Julian, who works with the school, Julian Mendoza, he's in the book. And Jalen Rose came and sat in with us in Julian's class.
You mentioned Jalen. Brother doesn't get enough credit. Well, no, most of us don't.
Yes.
Jalen Rose took his own money and went back to the neighborhood that he grew up in Detroit, when everybody was just shutting the lights out in Detroit. And he started the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy, and that's some unfinished business right there.
Did you see, they just talked about it this week, that all of his senior class graduated.
Really?
Yes, it was. They just talked about it this week during the playoffs.
Props to
so
this
we're
brother,
so
man.
proud of him, and that's what I mean about our men stepping in more, and our young people seeing the presence, because so often you guys are operating all the time. But as far as our young people seeing it, they're only seeing who's on television. They're seeing these reality shows. They're only looking at the athletes or whoever supposedly is celebrity at the moment. But there's men like you that every single day you're in the trenches. Every single day you're putting forth strides to make a difference in the next generation's lives. And they need to know that. They need to get to know you.
And they also need to know why. Because it used to be safe to go from point A to point B. Now, because we have created so many predators, young people that don't know how to work, some that don't want to work, and they still like things.
Yes.
Nice clothes, nice jewelry, nice car. And if you ain't working, only way you can get it is to steal it or take it from somebody. And that's the danger of the neglect that has spanned into like 2 generations of young people that have no problem trying to take what they want. So our lives become very dangerous. Very dangerous. I mean, I can't tell you the times that I've had to study young cats because of how they looking at me. You know, like they're gonna do something. And it helps to be able to drop a name here and there when you're in these streets, you know.
Yes, I guess so.
You're in this such neighborhood, and you know who name rang out. It's like, man, it's gonna be a problem if you keep asking me what set I'm from. Man, I'm from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I ain't studying that Crip and blood stuff, bro. You know, but check with this guy about it, you know.
Yes.
And I've seen them youngsters be like that. You know, I mean, they have not been exposed to men.
Yes.
And I see young ladies who are disrespecting themselves by walking around trying to look like guys. You know,
Yes.
I'm like, okay, your daddy wasn't there, your uncle neither.
Yeah.
No cousins, nobody, because you're doing a poor imitation of a man.
Well, and you know, it's
good God.
speaking to that, Bobby. Again, I was speaking to a group of ladies, and I mentioned that, and not to try and throw stones at someone if they're choosing to be gay. But what I want us to understand, and this is all of us, it doesn't matter just black community, Asian, whatever. Understand, ladies, that our young people, our children, no matter whether you are able to be in your relationship in a man's role, our young children still, I guess to not put it, we as women, we're still more emotional. Our insides are still who we are, the way we react to things. We can never grow testicles. And with those testicles come what it takes to be a man and bring into what our young people are needing. And what I'm afraid of, and again, I'll probably be bashed after this show, but I know how significant my father was in my life and the men that we had around us. There were things that my mother used to try and say to me that all my father had to do was walk in the room and I hear his voice. Or even with a crying baby, it can be 6 months old, and the mom is trying to console it, but the man's voice and the presence and energy of a man just changes things. And I feel like if we get too far away from that, and I believe in what I was raised with the Bible, and when we get too far away from having both in the upbringing of a child, I think we're going to see the results that we're not going to like later. And so we've got to start involving our men more in our children's lives. If women are gay, the child still needs the uncles, the brother, the cousins. If it's two men, still our children need to see so that they can make a choice on which way they're going to go versus something just being forced on them because of what's going on. Some of the people that I love the dearest are gay, and that's fine. But when we are working with rearing our children, we have to, sometimes I think that, and this was brought to me, the attention of someone that's in the school district, and she said, Sharita, what's happening is that because children experiment, they're claiming being a certain way because they've experimented with a child in the same sex, and they're finding later in life that that's really not where they were going to go, but because of the experimentation.
Wow.
And so, again, this is not a show where I want to bash whether you're gay or not. What I want to do is give our children a fair chance to be children, to not have to make choices because of what they're seeing on television, being exposed to things. Because what's scaring me, Bobby, is there was a report that kindergarten teachers said that toddlers are coming into school with the stress level of a 9th grader. Now we're talking about 5-year-olds, and because of what they're seeing on television or being exposed to at home or being, whether it's sexual abuse or bullying or whatever, or just things that they can see on television where it used to be we couldn't see a lot of stuff that happened until we went to a rated R movie, and you had to have someone that was 16 or 18 years older to go to that movie, where our children are seeing that in devices in their hands. And just because they're able to see it doesn't mean their brains can process it in the way that they should. And so again, I feel, now again, this is just me, but I feel that a lot of what is missing is the positive male role models and the voice of and the energy of what a man brings. It doesn't have to be that he has to be their spouse. Again, my brother has played a significant role in my boys' lives. My father and other male, my son loves you to death because as long as you've been in my life, my oldest son knows you well. And so he's been exposed to you and your personality. And I just really feel that we need to make a conscious effort to bring the positive men that are in our lives, that we work around every day, closer in to helping our young people see the heroes. And because we keep talking about the sheroes, and I feel like my brother calls me a shero. But again,
Appropriately so.
we need to uplift and bring more to the forefront the men that are making a difference in this country.
Well, amen and hallelujah. And I say that not in jest, but out of a real warm spot in my heart for you, because I grew up in an environment and in a time where all of my friends had the same connection to their mothers, and that was a vital and vibrant connection. That was back when women were breastfeeding kids, and it doesn't seem like a big deal till you see kids that weren't breastfed, because that period of time between a mother and a child is irrefutably special, and you can't replicate that any other way. And most children, they just came out with a study last week that said the cancer rates, I forgot, for one particular type of cancer is like 20% higher in children that weren't breastfed.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Well,
And-
that's a scary thing for me because I couldn't breastfeed my boys long. I wasn't producing enough milk.
But the point is, they had that experience.
Yeah, they were.
though.
I held them as close as I could when I fed them.
No, it's the
But
process.
Yes, yes.
It's that connectivity, and just the effort of it.
But
you
again,
follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, but again, I can see why that study would show, because
Man.
God made us to everything that we're made to do. It was for
We're
a
supposed
reason.
to do it.
It was for a reason.
Yeah,
Yes.
because you get to a stage in your life. I remember when I started. So my father, I never knew my dad. He died when I was 6 years old in a car accident. But even before then, he wasn't in my life, and I didn't really miss him early on because I had uncles and cousins
Right.
and a community of men around me.
Right.
But you come to a point, man, where even if he's a bad man, you need to know about it.
You need to know him.
You need to know it, because either you're going to want to emulate him or you want to become the opposite of him.
Bobby, my boys, when I moved to Los Angeles, I wanted to make sure that their dad was in touch with them so much. And that's when we didn't have cell phones and all that. I moved here in '88. I got an 800 number. And I said, you can call the boys on this number. This was obtained so that my boys could continually have the link to where they're from. And I really, to this day, both my boys they're 33 and 37. Anything, if there's something they don't like about their father, it was through their own knowledge.
Can't
Because
beat that.
I wouldn't talk down to them about their father, but I even told them what goes on in my house is our house. When you go to his house, I don't want to know what you guys are doing, unless something is happening to you, which I trust him, or I wouldn't even let them go. Whatever, your relationship is yours. So my oldest son, my ex-husband had a son before we met. And he ended up dying, but my oldest son met him, I guess it's been about 10 years ago. And he said, Mom, why didn't you tell me I had an older brother? I said, you know what, I didn't know you didn't know. That just goes to show how much I don't talk about what went on. I figured that their dad would tell them. And so, again, ladies, someone that's very close to me, haven't seen his son since he was 6 years old, and he loves his son. But because he and the woman did not make it, she took him away, and now he's in touch with his son via Facebook. But he still has not held his son.
How many years has
His son is in
elapsed?
college now.
Wow.
He held a birthday cake. I'm just going to say it's my brother. And my brother had bought a birthday cake for his son that he was going to give to him. And he held, that cake got hard. And he never saw his son again. And to this day, he's never been in the presence of his son. And now they're in touch via Facebook. And now, I don't know what she felt. I know my brother did some things. So I'm not even angry with her about it. What I'm saying, ladies, is that our children need their fathers.
That's the
And
thing.
stop separating them because we
you got
didn't
to,
work
you
out.
You got to realize, not you, but people need to understand. That's one time you have to divorce yourself from the emotion of the situation.
Yes.
Because there's no way you're gonna be able to mask that, and at some point, that child's gonna resent that you did that. Especially if the other person is a good person. You done made a terrible, terrible mistake. Even if they're not a good person, the child deserves the opportunity to see the possibilities of
Yes.
being a good person or a bad person.
Yes.
But
And let me
don't-
say this in her defense, because my
wow.
nephew may see this. And my brother knows. He was not a nice guy always to women, like you said, you know, but I know him as how he was as a father. And yes, I myself have gone through some mess. But the thing is that you can't hold on to that, and you cannot decide for the child on the exposure or not. And so it's all water under the bridge now. Yeah.
I've seen athletes, in particular, become very, very successful. They'll look in the microphone and say, "I'd like to thank my mama," and they'll never mention their father because the father wasn't in their lives. And then pops try to, show up now that the kid is a multi-millionaire.
Yes.
And it ain't happening. I did an event at the Grammy Museum here in L.A. A few weeks ago, an evening with real men. And I asked Sam Watson, who is the face of boxing and just an amazing cat, okay? And I asked Jim Brown, I said, how old were you when you knew you were a man? And Jim said, I knew I was a man when I was 7 years old. I said, how could that possibly be true? And he knew I was just egging him, right? And I already knew the answer. He said, Bobby, you know the answer to this. He said, when I had to move to New York, because my grandmother passed away in St. Simon Island, Georgia, he said, when I got there, my father and mother had already stopped living together. And he said by the time he was 10, his father would come by and try to still have a relation with his mom from time to time, right? And he had done got to the point when he was 7 where that wasn't working.
That wasn't happening. Whether mom is won't do or not, huh?
And they had to come to an understanding.
Yes.
At 7, he told his dad, he said, look here, I don't want you to do nothing for me because you ain't done nothing for me. And don't expect me to do anything for you. And that's not a healthy place to be, but sometimes men have to make these determinations of what the price is going to ultimately be for not sowing into their children's lives. And it's very difficult sometimes if you haven't been successful financially and you're under that pressure to just give in to walking away. But if you do that, man, it's going to come a day, man. I know personally that you're going to wish that you had just did whatever you had to do to maintain some kind of contact with your child.
Yes.
Especially if you care. Sometimes men get caught up in that, oh, I don't care. You lying.
Well,
no damn well you care.
I was working with the guys at Chino Prison, and these were guys that were going to be getting out within the next from 3 months to 5 years. And they chose to be in the class to try and do something different. And one of the sessions I was asking them, how long has it been since you spoke to your child or whatever? And many of them were saying how much they wanted to now, but they were afraid to. And one of the things that I suggested for them to do is to write it in a letter. And even if you don't mail it, write it in a letter, seal it, mail it to yourself even need be, and then don't open it. When you get that opportunity, hand it to your child so that they will know you were always on my mind. But I was, whether you want to say I was a coward and afraid of how you would accept it or whatever, because a lot of times we make judgments and we assume that someone doesn't care or whatever. And I tell you what, I had someone to tell me that, Sharita, I kind of followed that same pattern, and just the fact that I had that, it was the door was blown open, and because we all make mistakes. And so what I said to them is, as long as you're north of dirt, there's an opportunity to make a difference and to change, to say I'm sorry or whatever. Because the worst they can say is not accept it.
Right.
But to not at least make that move, how do you know what really could have happened? And so, again, this is Bobby Glanton Smith, my very, very special guest here on Drive Time with Sharita J. And Bobby and I talk so much that I'm sitting here talking and I forget that we're on camera. But that's just how powerful that I think this brother is. I love him to death. We bicker. You would think that we've been married before or been in a relationship the way we bicker, because we will get on a conversation. Matter of fact, I've been talking to him about possibly us doing something on a regular, because we're always debating on what a man thinks and what a woman thinks. So he's probably shocked that I'm saying a lot of what I say today.
No, I'm not shocked. I've been working on you. I've been working on you.
So again,
you finally coming around.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I've always believed so much that it was very important for my boys' dad to be in their lives, and for the fathers and the uncles, and again, though the young people that I want to introduce you to they don't know you, but I want them to see your character. I want them to see the character and the work and what it took to do whatever it is that they did. Because in order, like your book says, go to work. What's it called?
Let's go to work. Yeah.
Let's go to work. Anything that you want results, you've got to put in the work.
It's no shortcuts to that.
And so many are trying to do the shortcuts, especially watching these reality shows and young ladies that want to marry young men just because of where they are and who they are. I want to start working on these young people where the pants are too low and the dresses are too high. You know, where everything is expected to be microwave, meaning happen fast without the work. By them meeting you and reading the book, this can happen.
Well, you know, it's interesting. You've built this whole month around Father's Day. I've been advocating for about the last 10 years to cancel Father's Day due to lack of interest.
And I want to say something about that. We need to celebrate you guys and give just as many gifts as we expect on Mother's Day.
I'm not expecting that turnaround anytime soon because I haven't seen a Lexus commercial yet. You know, Father's Day is coming. Why don't you get that man you love this new Lexus? I mean, they got to the point now where it's a wonder me ain't got any money left at all. Because by the time you get through with Valentine, Mother's Day, her birthday, Christmas, it's like it's nonstop. You know, it's something around the calendar.
Yeah.
And then Father's Day come and they'll be showing fishing rods and new socks. You know.
Well, the thing now, in that defense, again, when you look at the statistics, it's so many single moms, and so. But the thing is that if we can start those relationships where, so what, you didn't work out, you still have a child. Now that I see that more women are having babies that are not minority, get this, not only is it not called out a wedlock or single mom, now guess what they're calling it? Co-parenting.
Who?
Co-parenting. Okay? Now, so there's a new term now that it's happening across, across the spectrum. So what I'm saying, I brought that up to say, there's still fathers that need to be receive their you're doing a great job too.
Well, that's
and
dangerous.
So that's
though,
why I want to make it the month of Father's Day.
Because,
yes, they call it co-parenting.
Well, they can call it whatever they want to, but somebody's going to end up missing a parent.
Yeah.
Because they'll never know the other parent because of these new definitions. But you can't change the fundamental structure, as you mentioned earlier, of men and women. And when they do, I don't want to be here anymore on the planet because I'm not going to be able to relate to that.
Yes.
You see, because we are wired a certain way, good or bad, because the more I've been around men that I respect, the one thing that I've learned is that they don't show a lot of emotion because they really it's almost like inbred that you have to keep a certain wall up.
Yes.
And then when you reach a certain stage of comfort with a person, it's shocking what people will be moved by. Because I sit down with some of the toughest cats, killers. And once they got to know me, they would tell me the truth. They say, man, I hate I got that reputation, man. But people put me in that position.
Yes.
And you never had a chance to take that jacket off.
Well, it's just like Godfather. I mean, it's a classic, right? Some of the worst gangsters, but they love their families. And
More
family
than
was
anything,
first.
yeah.
And so, not to glorify being gangsters, but when you are a real man and when you're walking that walk, still your family and being there was still a priority. And that's what we need to get back to. Even the way they're building communities now, Bobby, for a while, everybody was moving everywhere. And flipping properties was the end thing. And people didn't plan to put down roots and stay. Now they're building communities that are encouraging that people get to know their neighbors. And because when you got away from that, since the beginning of time, we've had villages. And you had community, and when we got away from that, and you could move away from, like I moved away from my family, you don't get to know your neighbors, your family suffers. I don't care what anyone says.
For sure.
You have to have a sense of community, and in that community are men and women.
True.
And when we got away from that, we saw a change across the world.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the evolution and the changes of how people congregate, right? In this city of Los Angeles, there is unprecedented construction going on.
Bobby, you're going to have to say that quick. I just realized, see, I started talking. We are at the 6 o'clock hour. I'm going to have you come back, and I know you're traveling.
Yeah.
But what I want to do is pipe you in next week.
Okay,
Because
we'll make it
I've been
happen.
wanting you to meet Coach Carter anyway.
Okay, cool.
And we may have to have you on the line because he's going to be piping in from Texas.
Okay.
Does he have a moment to say that, or are we way too past? My engineer, say what you were going to say.
Very quickly, it's so much money flowing into the 1% that found they open up the pockets.
Yes.
And there's so much development going on, and everywhere I look, I see everybody except black men working.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of the mission that we have right now is to affect change in the way we participate and don't wait on somebody to deliver us. So if you want to get in touch with me, I'm on Twitter at Glanton Smith. That's GLANTONSMITH. Or my website is www.realmendon'tplay.com.
Or go to Amazon and
get a
the
piece of
book.
that. Yeah,
and get the book.
a piece of that.
Again,
Yeah.
this is Sharita J with Drive Time here in Los Angeles every Wednesday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. If you want to know more, go to my website at kifoundation.org. That's kifoundation.org. Tune in next Wednesday and the rest of the month and find out what these wonderful, absolutely amazing men are doing as we feature them for Father's Day month. Have a good one.
Gotta take you higher. All right. You want to do it again? You want to do it again? Huh?
Yeah, let's go on back.
Gotta take you higher.
Power Lunch with Sharita J. If we could get more people to collaborate with our nonprofits, we could be bringing a lot more programs back to our schools because there's grants where there's been a music program or an arts program or fine language program cut. There's grants where individuals could bring those programs into the schools and collaborate. So that's why I never shut up about this. C360. That stands for Collaborative 360. And that's where we've launched a program where we are identifying